Hello, and welcome to First Christian Church's Adult Fellowship Bible Study. Today we cover the last of the 7 introductory sessions that we have to the book of Revelations before we start in the chapter by chapter evaluations next week. Scholars advise us to have read the book of Revelation all the way through, or preferably to have the book read aloud to you prior to starting the individual chapter by chapter reviews. And one of the ways you can do that is there's a number of options online, all of which are less than an hour and a half for the total book. And you can choose those options and listen to them. If you're not able to do that, maybe you can talk a friend into it. And if all else fails, read it aloud to yourself. Almost every scholar urges the reading aloud to be able to hear what's being said and not just reading in silence. Today's lesson focuses on helping we modern Christians better relate to the religious political crisis that Christians in the 7 churches that are addressed there in John's book of Revelation were facing, or believed to be facing, at the time that it was written. And understand that it was due to their faith that they're sustaining such persecution. Recall the best scholarship places this writing to very late in the 1st century AD, probably late in the reign of Domitian. The churches are in Western Asia Minor, in what would be Turkey today, but was called the Roman province of Asia at the time. Dr. Eugene Boring, in his commentary, says, except for Revelation itself, we unfortunately have nothing from Asia during Domitian's reign which might throw light on the relation between Christians and the Roman government. The nearest such documentation we have is an exchange of official letters between Plenty, the governor of Bithynia, the province just north of Asia, and the Emperor Trajan. The letters were written about 112 AD, within 25 years of the writing of Revelation, and constitute the earliest pagan evidence we have about the attitude of the Roman government towards Christians. Those letters we will read here now as they're translated into English. First, the letter from the governor. I have made it a rule, Lord, to refer everything to you about which I am in doubt. For who would better provide direction for my hesitation, or instructions for my lack of knowledge? I have never been present at the interrogation of Christians. Therefore, I do not know how far such investigations should be pushed, and what sort of punishments are appropriate. I have also been uncertain as to whether age makes any difference, or whether the very young are dealt with in the same way as adults, or whether repentance and renunciation of Christianity is sufficient, or whether the accused are still considered criminals because they were once Christians, even if they later renounce it, and whether persons are to be punished simply for the name Christian, even if no criminal act has been committed, or whether only crimes associated with the name are to be punished. In the meantime, I have handled those who have been denounced to me as Christians as follows. I asked them whether they were Christian. Those who responded affirmatively, I have asked a second and a third time under threat of the death penalty. If they persist in their confession, I had them executed. For whatever it is that they are actually advocating, it seems to me that obstinance and stubbornness must be punished in any case. Others who labor under the same delusion, but who were Roman citizens, I have designated to be sent to Rome. In the course of the investigation, as it usually happens, charges are brought against a wider circle of people, and the following special cases have emerged. An unsigned placard was posted accusing a large number of people by name. Those who denied being Christians now or in the past I thought necessary to release, since they invoked our gods according to the formula I gave them, and since they offered sacrifices of wine and incense before your image, which I have brought in for this purpose, along with the statues of our gods. I also had them curse Christ. It is said that real Christians cannot be forced to do any of these things. Others charged by this accusation at first admit that they had once been Christians, but had given it up. They have renounced it. Some of them 3 years ago, some even earlier, some as long as 25 years ago. All of these worship your image and the statues of the gods and cursed Christ. They verified, however, that their entire guilt or error consisted in the fact that on a special day before sunrise, they were accustomed to gathering and singing a hymn to Christ as their God, and to pledge themselves by an oath not to engage in any crime, but to abstain from all thievery, assault, and adultery, and not to break their word once they had given it, and not to refuse to pay their legal debts. They then went their separate ways, and came together later to eat a common meal, but it was ordinary meal, harmless food. They discontinued even that practice in accordance with my edict, by which I had forbade political association in accordance with your instructions. I considered it all the more necessary to obtain by torture a confession of the truth from 2 female slaves, whom they called deaconesses. I found nothing more than a vulgar, excessive superstition. I thus adjourned further hearings in order to seek counsel from you. The matter seems to me in need of good counsel, especially in view of a large number of the accused. For many of every age and class of both sexes are in danger of prosecution, both now and in the future. The plague of this superstition has spread not only in the city, but through the villages and the countryside. But I believe a stop can be made and a remedy provided. In any case, it is now quite clear that the temples, almost deserted previously, are gradually gaining more and more visitors. The long neglected sacrificial festivals are again regularly observed, and the sacrificial meat, for which buyers have been hard to find lately, is again being purchased. From this one can easily see what an improvement can be made in the masses when one gives room for repentance. The emperor's response to that letter is as follows. My Secundus, you have chosen the right way with regard to the cases of those who have been accused before you as Christians. Nothing exists that can be considered a universal norm for such cases. Christians should not be sought out, but if they are accused and handed over, they are to be punished, but only if they do not deny being Christians and demonstrate it by the appropriate acts, that is, the worship of our gods. Even if one is suspected because of past conduct, he or she is to be acquitted in view of repentance. Anonymous accusations may not be considered in any trial, for that would be dangerous precedence and does not fit our times. Those two letters should help us better relate to the situation Christians faced at the end of the 1st century AD and early 2nd century. There is no full-scale prosecution of Christians by the state, but when neighbors accused them, the state reacted in what they considered appropriate. Also, Christians by then no longer had the protection of the Jewish synagogue, which had an exemption not to be punished for failure to worship pagan gods and the emperor. However, that Jewish exemption had been greatly weakened after the Jewish-Roman War of 68 to 70 AD. That Jewish community was very worried about any splinter groups attracting Roman eyes and Roman attention on their core faith. They had enough problems with the state on their own. As we see here, Christianity had become widespread enough and growing in the neighboring provinces to significantly impact the pagan religions. Christians here were highly suspected and considered to be unpatriotic, atheist, disrupting the normal religious culture of their communities. Their practices were considered vulgar superstitions, and their root that is the roots of Christianity, traces back to that gang of Galilean rebels who attempted to overthrow the legitimate temple rule in Judea that was approved by Rome and established their own leader, Jesus, as King of the Jews. They claimed to be God's chosen people and adopted Gentiles into the clan of Abraham, for which the Jews strongly disputed, having dismissed them from their gatherings. Place yourself in that setting as you read Revelations, and it'll help you, I think, appreciate what Revelations meant at the time it was written. I hope you have a good week, and starting next week we will begin a chapter by chapter evaluation of Revelation. But meanwhile, make sure you, if at all possible, you have the book of Revelation read to you in its entirety orally, so that you get to hear as well as see what's there. Have a good week.